Hello, Namaskar and Adab to all my friends from your friend astrologer and guide Irfan, once more with you from your very own channel Astro Assurance. When we go and look deeper into our nakshatra level energies, especially when connected to either the Lagna chart, whether we look at the ascendant nakshatra or we look at the Janma nakshatra or the birth nakshatra, which means the nakshatra in which moon is placed at the time of her birth, or we look deeper into the D9 nakshatra and so on, we are able to see the energies at a more finer level, and we are able to see a more finer dissemination of different placements, different yogas, doshas, synergies of energies as I talked about in the last video, and so on. However, at a more finer level, what does the exact meaning of a certain placement? We need to look deeper within the nakshatra. As we know that each nakshatra is made of 4 padas. So nakshatras are of 13 degrees and each pada is constituted by 3 degrees and 20 minutes each. And hence, when we look at any 3 padas make up 10 degrees. And so 3 padas together, 9 padas together make a sign. And hence, when we look deeper for each pada, we will be able to look at a finer dissemination of what the meaning of a planet is when it gets into a specific pada of a certain nakshatra within a sign. So, if you are looking at any finer dissemination, look at the sign in which the planet is placed, look at which nakshatra the planet is placed in, and which pada the planet is placed in, because the finest dissemination is at the pada level. Now, when we look at the mythological stories, these mythological stories are being given to us not just to look at a superficial, only the mythological level stories and see only that relation. The mythological the stories have been narrated to us or told to us or have been connected to these planets so that we remember. If you don't know the story of Surya or Sun, then Chaya, how would we be able to narrate or relate the relationship between Sun and Saturn, and why the relationship soured between the father and son, and how Chaya gets connected there. Or if you don't know the story of Mohini being the one who is the avatar of Vishnu, and then the Swarbhanu getting decapitated into Rahu and Ketu, then how would we know the connect of why Rahu and Ketu are at enmity with Sun and Moon and why they eclipse them? So these stories are still at a higher level, at say 40,000 feet level, that you need to understand. But at a deeper dissemination, we need to understand basis the placements, not just based on the mythological stories. And only when we are able to look at the placements, understand the energies, relate the energies to the placements, are we able to disseminate the energies very well. Say for example, if you are looking at the Kalpurush Kundli, what is the first sign and first house? The first house is Aries sign, and Aries, as we know, is made up of or divided into 9 padas. Each pada will go into a certain nakshatra. So the first nakshatra, which is Ashwini, will have 4 padas. The second nakshatra, Bharani, will have 4 padas, and the third nakshatra, Kritika, will have 1 pada, which is in the Aries sign. So Aries has the 9 padas. So a planet which goes specifically at a certain degree will get into a certain pada. So at between 0 degrees and 3 degrees 20 minutes, any planet will get into the first pada of the Ashwini nakshatra. As we know that the first pada is Aries, that's how Ashwini nakshatra or the Aries sign is divided. So the first pada is Aries. So any planet which goes between 0 degrees and 3 degrees 20 minutes of the Aries sign gets into the Ashwini nakshatra and gets into the first pada, which is Aries. And then we need to connect the Aries energies of the sign, the nakshatra energies of Ashwini, and then the pada energies again of Ashwini. And so at the finest dissemination, we will be able to make the connect and then be able to understand what this placement means at a deepest level. So let's take some examples looking at the zodiac itself, looking at the nakshatras construct itself, and then try and derive meaning. What does the nakshatra mean at a certain specific pada, at a certain specific degree? So if we see that the first pada of Ashwini is the Aries pada, which means between 0 and 3 degrees 20 minutes, a planet which gets into the Ashwini nakshatra within the Aries sign gets into the Aries pada. Now what does this mean? Now Ashwini means somebody who will rush into activity, is proactive, will take the initiative, will not stop, will also be the first one to jump headlong into a project, and will have a lot of energy, motivation and willpower to do that project. That's what the Ashwini nakshatra means. So if a planet is placed within the Ashwini nakshatra and in the first pada between 0 degrees and 3 degrees and 20 minutes within the Aries pada, then it means that in rushing into dangers or into activity or into projects, a person who gets into that first pada of Aries will be able to do that activity with a lot of drive, with a lot of assertiveness, with a lot of action. There will be a lot of dynamism in that person, and if there is any project which has to be taken up, this person will be able to do it or take it forward with a lot of energy. Such a person can be used to also drive a lot of support for a project. Such a person can be used to drive a lot of campaigning for a certain project, campaigning for a certain idea, campaigning for a certain cause also. So if somebody is placed in the Ashwini nakshatra, especially in the first pada, such a person can be utilized who has a lot of energy to be able to support a project. So when a project is starting off and you don't get a lot of support for such a project, this person, if he is part of the team, he will not only be able to keep himself motivated, but also will be able to motivate the team members, and will also be able to influence outsiders to be a part of the campaign. The flip side to this is that because it is the Ashwini nakshatra but also the first pada of Aries, this person will also probably be the one who loses interest the first, and such a person will not be able to keep up the project with interest or be part of the project with interest, will lose interest in the project. And when after a couple of months that you see, you will find that most of the others probably are still continuing with the same energy working on the project, but a person whose energy has waned or lessened with time, or whose contribution is least and not showing so much interest, will be the same person who will be in the first pada of Aries within the Ashwini nakshatra within the Aries sign. So when you're looking at selection of people, when you select such people, you should also know what the fallacies or the drawbacks of this person is. Now when you have such a person being a part of the project, you should also keep people who have the Taurus energies, who also have the Capricorn energies, who also have the Leo energies a part of the project. Why? Because Taurus person will also be a little stubborn, wanting to complete. The Virgo person will also look at perfection or the good work in completion of the project, and the project should reach its logical conclusion. The Leo person will take the project forward with a lot of responsibility, with a lot of accountability, and will not let go of the project till he feels that the project has reached its logical conclusion, has been completed with responsibility, and will also take accountability for the project to be completed, whether he is the boss of the project or the lead of the project or not. So when you are looking at selection of people, whether you are looking at selection of people in a project or selection of people for a certain task or selection of people for a certain campaign, one needs to be more clear what kind of people you are selecting, and you will also be able to find that energy and drive in such people. But you will also know that their tenure in a company will also tell you what kind of person what kind of energy this person brings to the table, brings to the project. So such a person can be used accordingly when a certain project demands such an energy. However, if the planet is placed in the second pada, now here I'm not talking about any specific planet, say the Lagna Lord goes into such a placement, whatever the Lagna Lord is, it could be Sun, it could be Mercury, whatever. So if the planet gets into the second pada, which is the Taurus pada. Now what is Taurus? The Taurus pada is about being a little stubborn, being a little headstrong about certain ideas, certain campaigns, certain principles, values, and also being connected deeply, deep-rooted connection such a person may find to the project. If a Taurus person doesn't find the connect to a certain project, certain campaign, then it will be hard to convince them to be a part of that project or that campaign, because such people, if they are not connected, if they don't find any value in that, then they will not be connected. But once they find connect, it will be difficult to shake this person's confidence, shake this person's association with the idea, with what the project may be able to contribute. And so such a person will also be somebody who will be difficult to convince, so not easy to person to convince, but also the difficult person to take off the project easily, or to convince the person that the project is not sustainable or is not good enough after some time. So you need different mix of people. So this Taurus energy within the Ashwini nakshatra will be of somebody who will hold on to the project with a lot of energy. The Ashwini energies will try and take the project forward, and the Aries, the mindset, the thought process, and may also derive his reputation by basis of how he or she is connecting on the project, is taking the project to its logical completion, and able to still work with a lot of responsibility, work with a lot of principles and values and dedication, rather than cutting corners. Now if the planet goes into the third pada, which is the Gemini pada, so here the person will be somebody who will be able to communicate and use his or her communication to be able to drive the project with a lot of energy, the Ashwini energies. And because Ashwini is part of Aries, so the thought process will also be that I need to achieve this goal, and I need to win, I need to succeed, and I will do it at any cost, and I will take the project to its logical conclusion. And so within Ashwini, when the planet falls into Gemini, this person will use his or her communication skills, his or her convincing skills, will use his or her marketing and branding skills to be able to take the project forward, communicate with people, interact with people, deal with people, negotiate with people, attract people, project the intention of the campaign, and get more people to sign up, will be able to convince people with more conviction, and be able to get more people to work on it. However, the flip side of getting such a person, or when the planet goes in the sign within the Ashwini nakshatra, is that this person will initially sign up with a lot of gung-ho, with a lot of enthusiasm, but may have a lot of questions to ask at the time of joining the project itself. And so only when all the questions are addressed, all the doubts are addressed, will the person join. But the person may come back with more doubts after a month or so, and this is the person who in a project meeting will be the first person to say that I don't know whether it is feasible anymore, because we are facing this roadblock, that roadblock. So this person will also start to get doubts. This is a different person from the Aries pada. Aries pada person will not lose the conviction in the project, but lose interest. He or she will need to find something else. But the Gemini person will start to have doubts, will have a dual mindedness, that is some other project more feasible, am I wasting time on this project, is the other team doing better than us? All these doubts come to the mind of the Gemini person. So each pada of a certain nakshatra within a sign will have a story to tell, will also bring a certain nature, a certain dissemination to the table. Now let's change the nakshatra to another nakshatra. Keeping the pada same, let's jump into the Sagittarius sign and into the first nakshatra, which is the Moola nakshatra. Now Moola nakshatra also starts with the Aries sign energies. I am choosing the same sign energies so that we can relate between one fire sign and the other fire sign. Just because the nakshatra changes, the sign changes, how the dissemination also changes. Now what is the Sagittarius energies? Sagittarius energies is of somebody who is very learned, very knowledgeable, but it's also very, very adventurous. So when you approach such a person or involve a person for a project, for a certain campaign, or for a certain action, for certain work, then this person may also join the project with a lot of enthusiasm, may also like to do some project which will also generate interest, is also fun to be a part of, and will also attract a lot of learning. The person will get something to learn out of it, will be able to derive some value out of it. Only then a Sagittarius person may join such a project or such a work or such a campaign. Once the person joins the project, the person will get to the root causes of a challenge, of a problem it is, and will try to find solutions if the planet gets into especially the first pada. Now Moola energies are of getting down to the bottom to find the roots of a challenge, roots of a solution, and be able to either eradicate the problem from the roots or use the roots or do a deep analysis to come up with a long lasting solution and not a short term solution. So the Sagittarius person will also use a lot of learning, a lot of knowledge, and will also do a lot of deep research to be able to come out with more long lasting solutions, especially if the planet gets into the first pada, which is the Aries pada. So this person will jump headlong with a lot of energy, a lot of motivation to be able to do it. However, now what are the energies? Sagittarius: fun, adventure, excitement, learning. Now if the person finds that after some time the person is not learning enough, there is no more knowledge to be accrued out of the project, out of the campaign, and it's in the first pada within Moola. First pada is of Aries, and as we know, Aries sign, this pada also has energies which are waning the easiest, or the person will lose interest or they lose motivation in the project the easiest or the quickest. So if the Sagittarius person in the first pada of the Moola nakshatra is not able to find solutions quickly, is not able to find any value, is not able to find any learning, is not able to get to the roots of the problem, or is not able to find what the challenge is, then these people will lose interest because there is no more learning to attain. They are not able to solve the problem, they are not able to heal, they are not able to eradicate the challenge. And so these people will also be the people who may be off the project the fastest, but for the different reason rather than the person who is getting in the first pada in the Aries sign, in the Ashwini nakshatra, in the Aries sign. So the disseminations are different, the meanings are different. So whenever you are looking at a certain pada level energies, please also note that it is important to know right down to the bottom what energies a certain person brings to the table by virtue of a certain planet which goes into a certain pada. Different planets will bring different flavors to it. Sun will bring more responsibility and accountability. The moon will bring more empathy, more understanding. Mercury will bring in a more deep-sighted analysis, analytical ability, trying to complete it to the last jot. Jupiter will be able to bring in a lot of expansion, a lot of knowledge to the table also. Saturn will bring in a lot of dedication, a lot of commitment, a lot of teamwork which will be involved. So each planet getting into a certain pada within a certain nakshatra, within a certain sign, will bring a lot of a different energy to the table, will bring in a different dissemination to the placement, and so the outputs will be different. The approach to work will be different. The approach how they work with different other people will be different, and the completion or the outcome of the project will also be different, and the process in what manner the project is done will also be different. How the work is done will be different. So now basis what kind of work you're doing, or whether you're getting involved in a relationship, or you're looking at purchasing and or doing some investments, which house it is placed in, different placements will have different dissemination. So whenever you're looking at a certain dasha, within a certain dasha, a certain decision which needs to be taken, look at what are the planets which are placed in that particular house. If the dasha of a certain planet is on, which specific degree the planet is getting placed in, and what is the energy the planet is bringing to the table. So for example, if Mars is getting into the first sign of Aries in the first nakshatra Ashwini, and that too in the first pada of again Aries, and your Mars dasha is on, but Mars is in the 5th house, then whenever you're taking speculative investments, whenever you're making investment in some project and you're starting to like the project, you're trying to find more meaning, trying to find more value in it, you will find that within a short duration of time you may give up interest or motivation to buy that. So don't be in a hurry if you're in a Mars dasha and Mars is placed in the 5th house in the sign of Aries, that too in the first pada, then in such a case you will be in the Sagittarius ascendant, because now the 5th house has the Aries energy. So if Mars gets into the first pada in the Aries sign in the 5th house, that means in the Ashwini nakshatra, and within the Ashwini nakshatra the Aries pada, then you may find that the person or you, if you have that placement, may lose interest, lose motivation in the project very soon. So don't be in a hurry if you have that placement, especially with regard to investments, because you will find that after some time you may not like that, you may not be motivated to be a part of the project anymore. And then your spouse may think, you were so gung-ho about a certain project, you took me on 2 or 3 trips to see that plot of land, to meet people. Now what happened? Then the person says, no, I lost interest, I don't think that is more feasible for us. The whole effort will get lost. So understand your placements before you look at taking an action. Unless you understand the nakshatra level, the pada level energies very well, you will not be able to understand how in the future the particular placement will turn out to be. Whether it will turn out to be a good thing for you, whether it will turn out to be a challenge for you, whether it will turn out to be an interest losing spree or action for you, whether it will turn out to be a romance which will be short lived, because the 5th house is also the house of romance. And if this gets into the 7th house, for example, then all the more important to understand the pada level energies better, because then you will also need to see where or which kind of partners you are getting attracted to and why you are getting attracted to those kinds of partners. I will do a separate video looking at the pada level energies and then relating them to different areas of our life. For this video, I am keeping it still at a very generic level, but still at a much deeper level. My suggestion to you is look into your own horoscope, understand where the 9 planets are placed, in which padas they are placed, and what kind of energies they are bringing to the table. You will find that when you look at the overall energies of the planets who are placed in certain padas, the more certain padas they are placed in, you will also find a certain characteristics they will bring to your personality. If most of the planets get placed in the fiery padas, Aries, Sagittarius or Leo padas within a certain sign, then whatever ascendant you are, whatever be your birth nakshatra, wherever your moon is placed, that fiery energy may come through in your personality. The assertiveness, the dynamism may also come in your personalities, because most of your planets or majority of your planets are placed in the fiery padas, whatever sign there may be. So understand your placements better, understand what personality attributes they are bringing to you better, understand how they make you take certain actions, how they drive you into certain challenges, issues also, and accordingly plan your life better, plan your dashas better, plan your decisions better. So friends, like this video, share this video, and if you're looking for a personal consultation from me, please reach out to me at the links given below. Until some other time with some other video, this is your friend astrologer and guide Irfan signing off. Ciao.